Welcome to Safety Chats. Host Jason Stark, Director of Safety at Baldwin Safety and Compliance, shares decades of aviation experience and a passion for safety. Let's get started with this week's Safety Chat.
So have you ever read anything that made you stop in your tracks and say, wow, I did not know that? I'm sure you have, because you're all an introspective group and I know you're all into learning, but there's just sometimes those things that you say or that you read that you just wonder, wow, I wouldn't even think of that. And it's surprising because of everything that you've read prior, this seems to kind of throw it on its head and you just don't know what to do. So that's kind of where I'm at when I just read an article on something called Unethical Pro-Organizational or Pro-Social Behavior. Hey, this is Jason. Welcome to the Safety Chat podcast. And I'm with you to talk about anything safety management, hazard identification, hazard risk related, whatever you want to call it. We talk about safety. And we have a little bit of fun with it too, I hope. I hope you're having fun. I know I have fun doing these. Glad to be providing you another podcast. But this one's a little different. I was reading this article. The article is called The Impact of Leadership on Unethical Pro-Organizational Behavior. It's a systematic literature review and future research directions. Okay, so it's a fancy title. But what it is, it's talking about this thing called Unethical Pro-Organizational or Pro-Social Behavior. And it's just an interesting title because pro-organizational behavior is behavior that is, well, pro the organization, or it's for the organization. It's meant to help the organization. And if you've ever listened to any of my talks, which, why would you, right? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but I talk about this thing called organizational citizenship behavior. And organizational citizenship behavior is one of these things where people go above and beyond what's in their job description for the benefit of the organization. Now, the context I put it in specifically is what's called safety citizenship behavior. And safety citizenship behavior is an offshoot from organizational citizenship behavior, but it's basically safety behavior or behavior related to safety that is above and beyond what is required. It's an extra role activity. So an example of safety citizenship behavior would be reporting, or would be hazard reporting. So somebody is doing something that really isn't required of their job. We don't see promotions, we don't see vacations, we don't see choice airplanes, choice assignments, whatever it is, based on how many safety reports somebody files. I mean, generally speaking, it is something that's voluntary. And that's why we call it the voluntary reporting system. It's voluntary. So being voluntary, it is an extra role behavior, meaning it's outside of their role. So the safety citizenship behavior is an offshoot of organizational citizenship behavior, and organizational citizenship behavior is pro-organizational behavior. So in a sense, safety citizenship behavior is pro-organizational behavior. Now let's go to the title of this article, Impact of Leadership on Unethical Pro-Organizational Behavior. Now the thing that I think really concerns me is that my research for my dissertation was on the impact of servant leadership in fostering and building safety citizenship behavior, and specifically as mediated through organizational commitment. So affective organizational commitment, to be exact. So what that's saying is that servant leadership instills this love for the organization, which then instills safety citizenship behavior. So the concerning thing with this article is that it was showing through research that if people over-identify with the organization, if they are very committed, very in love with their organization, it can inspire these pro-organizational behaviors that could end up being unethical because they do things which may or may not be ethical for what they think is the benefit of the organization. Now, this is scary because if you have a really strong leader who just basically exhibits all of the characteristics of the organization, exhibits good leadership, exhibits or fosters rallying around the goals of the organization, and people are very committed to that leader and committed to the organization, they may do things that may be outside of regulations, SOPs, in order to ensure what they think is thriving for the organization. So I have been part of this in one of the organizations I've worked with, where a pilot would feel so committed to the primaries of the airplane or the owners of the airplane that he would routinely go against SOPs in order to get the mission done to please the clients or please the organization that I work part of. So this is very problematic, and this is something that we as safety managers need to look out for in our organizations. Now, we would think that strong leadership, making strong safety citizens, is what we want. But could there be a difference between strong organizational citizens and strong safety citizens? And that's where I think we need to distinguish. Because safety citizens, by definition, go above and beyond for the safety of the organization. So that means probably a more conservative approach. That means identifying, mitigating risk, not engaging in risky or at-risk behavior. Whereas if you instill strong organizational citizens, then there may be that tendency when safety citizenship is second place, there may be that tendency to go above and beyond. So more than ever, we want to instill safety citizenship within our organization. And especially if we have strong organizational commitment, we want to make sure that the safety citizenship is just as strong. So what does this mean in practicality? What it means in practicality or in practical nature is that two things. We need to, one, be aware of this happening within our organization. So when we see people who are gung-ho for the organization, which is a good thing, I am not putting that down, but when you see people who are gung-ho for the organization or gung-ho for the primary of the aircraft or gung-ho for their supervisor or whatever, that they would do anything for the supervisor, that means that they could end up engaging in unethical behavior in order to get the mission done to make the organization or the representative of the organization look good. And that is something that we need to watch for. I mean, that's what this podcast is about. What are the things that we can scratch our head about and things that we can watch for? When we think about what hazards we're going to look for, over-identification with the organization itself can be a condition which can cause or contribute to an accident or incident, which by definition is a hazard. So that's something, not like you can stick a thermometer in your organization to determine, but that's something to watch for. And more importantly, if you have somebody that deviates from the SOPs, you should have an algorithm in place about culpability. And that should be asking these questions like the substitution test. Would anybody else in their place do it? Was this criminal? Was drugs involved? You know what I am. And there's a really good culpability algorithm in the publication, A Roadmap to a Just Culture, which was put out by the GAIN, G-A-I-N, project. You can find it on the Flight Safety Foundation page, or just type in GAIN, G-A-I-N, Roadmap to a Just Culture. But this culpability chart's in there, and it kind of shows you. The one thing that I think that chart, or a formal process to determine culpability or causal reasons for a certain behavior, one important thing that it should be distilled is this idea that the person wasn't acting in malicious intent, it wasn't acting in non-pro-organizational behavior, but working in pro-organizational behavior. And that's something we need to distill, because when we find that one person's doing that, this could be something that's going on, that people are so committed to the organization meeting its goals, so committed to the organization succeeding, have such a strong organizational citizenship, they're going above and beyond what's required of their job role for the organization, for the benefit of the organization, that they end up doing something unethical, or in our case, that we're worried about, unsafe, in order to do it. So we want to instill safety citizens. And if we have strong organization citizens that want to do what they can for the organization, it shouldn't be a stretch then to get them to be strong safety citizens by leadership explaining, hey, to really serve the organization, behavior that is in line with the SOPs, with the regulations that are set forth is key. Engaging in these behaviors is key, that are in line with the SOPs, that are in line with the organization, that are not taking unnecessary risks. Because in truth, if you violate SOPs or regulations or engage in any other unethical behavior where somebody gets hurt or we lose equipment, you are actually going to end up hurting the organization more than you are helping it. So it is leadership's job to say, if it is identified that we do have people engaging in unethical behavior, It's leadership's job to say that safety citizenship is important. Organizational citizenship is great, especially today's day and age when we're losing people, but safety citizenship is one of the higher forms of organizational citizenship. Organizational citizenship is very broad. Those extra role activities that benefit the organization. Well, in people's heads, benefiting the organization may include engaging in unethical behavior. So safety citizenship specifically is engaging in behaviors and extra role activities for the benefit, the safety, or the reduction of risk within an organization. And that's what we need to promote within our operations. So I hope this was helpful. A really interesting article. If you're interested in reading more about it, just drop me a line and I can send you a copy of the article. It is thought-provoking that people can love the organization so much, or leaders can inspire people so much that they would engage in unethical behavior. It's really fascinating. But anyway, if you have any questions about that, drop me a line. Anything else you want to hear about, drop me a line. Or any feedback that you have, good, bad, indifferent, ugly, beautiful, whatever, drop me a line, because we want to serve you with these podcasts. And we want them to be something that's thought-provoking and also something that's practical. So sometimes we have podcasts that are, like, wow, he's kind of out there in la la land. And then we have podcasts where, oh, well, it's really practical, like talking about SPIs and objectives, which I'm sure we will do again. But thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for engaging with this podcast. Again, it's something I hope that helps us all be better at what we do. But speaking of what we do, I want to thank you all for what you do. And thank you all for helping keep the system safe. Love you guys. And until the next podcast, stay safe.
This podcast is brought to you by Baldwin Safety and Compliance, the leader in safety management for the transportation industry. Since 2004, Baldwin has been providing state-of-the-art solutions and 24/7 support to the aviation and transportation industries. Baldwin's clients include all sizes and types of transportation operators. Baldwin provides safety and related business services to commercial and non-commercial transportation operators, medical transporters, FBOs, MROs, airports, flight schools, UAS operators, firefighters, OEMs, ground transport operators, and others. Visit baldwinsms.com to discover how Baldwin can enhance your organization's safety program.